back to my channel. We are back for yet again some more Pokemon Creepypastas. So today we are reading the Vermilion City Construction Project. This one is kind of lengthy, but good enough. I'll read slow. Once again, if I stumble over my words, I apologize. My noggin takes more than what my mouth can speak. So yeah, without further ado, let's get right into it. Also, I apologize if you hear any background noise. I'm not sure if my headphones have a microphone, if that's what this is. We could test it, but I don't know. Anyways, let's just get into it. Remember that old man on the construction site in Vermilion City? He had a faithful Machop that flattened the ground for some mysterious construction project. They had apparently been there for years. There's more to this tale. The story begins in Lavender Town. The Lavender Town chapter of Pokemon Red and Blue was short, but left a profound impact on the player. Team Rocket was at it again, stealing skulls of the Cubones in the tower. Local celebrity Mr. Fuji attempted to stop them, but was easily subdued and taken hostage. You, the valiant hero, rescued Mr. Fuji and put an end to Team Rocket's nefarious plot. The story was juvenile, but there seemed to be so much more to it. Perhaps it is the music that played. It sounds quite simply like fear. It lent ambiance and had an intensity not present elsewhere in the game. No wonder it is recalled to such vividness by those who grew up playing the game. But isn't it curious that for a town so dedicated to preserving the resting place of Pokemon, a mere 3 years later, the town had been replaced with a radio tower? Lavender Town had obviously changed the first time you've traveled there in Gold and Silver. Aside from the aesthetic changes, the music was now lighthearted and whimsical, entirely different in the mood than the previous generation. But beneath the cheerful arrangement of the music was the same haunting melody. Things were not as they appeared. You see, there is more to Team Rocket's involvement than you have ever imagined. Lavender Town, during the time of Red and Blue, was struggling. It was a town without a draw. It lacked a Pokemon gym or anything else to attract tourists. Fuchsia had Savari's Zone, Pewter had a museum, Cinnabar had a famous laboratory, etc., but all Lavender Town had was a massive grave that was free to visit. Its feeble Pokemart paled with comparison to the huge Celadon apartment store, which was easily accessible through the underground path to the west. Lavender Town was easily the poorest town in Kanto. One day, a man approached the mayor of Lavender Town with a proposition. Radio was a fad that had taken nearby Johto region by storm. He proposed the demolition of the Pokemon Tower and constructed a radio tower in its place. It would entirely be funded by the businessman's company, but built at no cost to Lavender Town. The mayor realized that this would greatly upset the residents. He also realized that this was an opportunity for the prosperity. The town was desperate. He accepted, even with the condition that came of the businessman's plan. Cubones were indigenous to Lavender Town. Their skulls were extremely valuable on the black market. The businessman's condition was that the organization would be allowed to hunt the Cubones. The profits from the skulls would fund the construction of the radio tower. Who was this businessman? Giovanni. The mayor of Lavender Town, Mr. Fiji. Red was simply a pawn in this plot. He rescued Mr. Fuji in order to deflect the growing suspicion of his involvement with Team Rocket. And as he left the town and continued his journey, Team Rocket quietly resumed the extermination of Cubones. The plan appears to be unconcerned with the souls of resting Pokemon. It was anything but. Giovanni was a very superstitious man. The takeover of Sylph Company was done so that Team Rocket would be able to mass-produce Sylph Scopes, which would then be distributed to the grunts involved with the Lavender Project. He also believed demolishing the town would disrupt the spirits of the Pokemon inside, so he planned to construct a new tower. The bodies would be moved there before the demolition of the tower would take place. He knew of a place that would be perfect for the new tower, an empty hill in Vermilion. Giovanni hired a small independent construction company to build this tower so that the people would not suspect Team Rocket's involvement. The old man's The old man's company used a Pokemon labor force, Machops. The construction was problematic. It suffered through a string of increasingly bizarre disasters. Sorry. The funds originally allocated the company were lost in the bank robbery. There was inexplicable machine failures as well as deaths of several Machops. Months had passed, and the project still stalled, making seemingly no progress. The citizens of Vermilion, who had no idea what construction was intended for, joked that it was cursed. This would explain the continuing tragedy that befell the Machops, whose attacks could not affect ghosts. Nonetheless, Giovanni refused to begin the construction of the radio tower until the bodies could be transferred to a new resting place. His greatest fear was disturbing the spirits. Some of his followers came to view him as delusional, and he seemed to believe that the ghosts were trying to communicate with him. That he had in fact disturbed the spirits already, causing their activity in Vermilion. His defeat at the hands of Red, a 10-year-old boy, validated his apprehensions that he could no longer lead an organization that expected him to carry out a plan that he now feared the consequences. He relinquished his power and disappeared. The new leaders of Team Rocket shared a few of his superstitions and apprehensions. The tower was demolished the next day, but strangely the old man that owed the Vermilion Construction Company died the same day. The construction site still upon that hill remains in Vermilion City today. It is abandoned, a flat patch of earth, barren except for new tombstones under which deceased Machops lay, the only feature that resembles the Pokemon Plan Tower that never was. People that visit feel uneasiness. Some claim to hear a faint, very sad melody. Most avoid this place, but occasionally a traveler from Johto will unknowingly stumble upon it. They claim to see an old man at a Machop continuously stomping the ground flat for an important construction project. Oh boy. I love concepts of what people come up with. Like, I know these are all most likely not true and most likely just made up stories, but I think that's like what's the good like the cool thing about it is that people can somehow just come up with this shit or somehow find out like the truth behind it, or can simply just make it up in their head. I mean, that's kind of how I feel when it comes to me writing my stories. It's all in here. Somehow it works itself out in the end, but I don't know, it's very like surreal, I guess. But it's very interesting to read, and I genuinely do love reading these. It also gives me like so much more of like an idea of a concept of shit to write about. If I ever still wanted to try and get into like the horror side and try and like add like horror Pokemon stuff, because why not, you know? But yeah, that is basically it. I hope you guys enjoyed. Everything's down in the description. I love you guys, and I will see you later.